Greetings and welcome to another edition of AUHSD Future Talks. I'm your host, Michael Matsuda, the superintendent of the Anaheim Union High School District. And as our 7,000 plus listeners know, that this show is all about the future of education, the future of jobs and work, and the challenges ahead for our young people. We've been very blessed to have so many experts across the full spectrum of education, from higher ed to our business and nonprofit partners, to think tank people, and even internally, we have so many amazing people. One of them is Dr. Renae Bryant. Dr. Bryant, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much. It's an honor to be here with you, Superintendent Matsuda. And
Dr. Bryant is the Director of Plurilingual Services. And I want to start with that term because it's we were talking about how EL has morphed and now it's plurilingual. What is the thinking behind that?
Right. So we used to have maybe more so of a deficit-based terminology for describing our scholars who had multiple languages. And so way back in the day, it was limited English proficient. Then it morphed to English language learners. Then it became English learners, then emergent bilinguals, multilingual learners. And really right now, we're looking at plurilingualism. And this is an assets-based term that really recognizes the fact that we don't stay in one language. So whereas multilingualism kind of silos language, like maybe you speak German, you speak Spanish, you speak Arabic, you speak Vietnamese, you speak English, and you silo those, and that's multilingualism. Plurilingualism refers to the fact that we go in and out of languages all the time, and we hear that all around us. So it honors the translanguaging that happens and also the cultures and context in which language occurs. So that is the term that we're using, plurilingualism, and that integration of languages and culture.
You know, I think that's a very sort of global concept, right? And it's also very authentic because it describes the assets that many of our kids are bringing to our schools and our communities. We usually start, as you know, Renae, we usually start the show about who you are and what your drivers are. Can you share with the audience a little bit about how you became to be Director of Plurilingual Services?
Right. So I'll start way back. So I actually I'm not from California. I actually was born in Indiana, lived in Indiana and Michigan before moving to California at the age of 5, and didn't have a typical childhood, had some challenges, definitely, and saw public education as a safe haven for me. That was the safe place for me, public education. Every time I went to a new school, which I went to a new school every year from the time I was in kindergarten to 6th grade, it was those public educators that always welcomed, from the secretary to the principal to the teacher, that always welcomed my mom and myself. So that really formed me. And I'm very lucky that in spite of the challenges of my childhood and because of public education, I actually excelled academically. And I so much so that I did want to go to college. And my parents, knowing that I was the first person, you know, in the family to go to college, they sat me down and they kind of explained to me that they weren't going to be able to pay for me to go to college, with the salaries being what they were. They were, you know, some blue collar workers. They both worked for the state of California and they weren't going to be able to afford it. So they told me, you're going to have to find a way to pay for it yourself. So I actually enrolled in ROP cosmetology school while I was a junior in high school. And just in case I was not going to be able to pay for college, I'd be able to supplement, and pay for it, hopefully, with that. So I was fortunate, though. I had amazing high school teachers who wrote letters of recommendation for me, and I still continue to excel academically. So I was able to go on full ride scholarship through the Riverside Scholars Foundation Scholarship Program, which started me out at Riverside Community College and then transferred me to UC Riverside. And, originally I wanted to attend CBU, which is California Baptist University, and become a missionary teaching ESL. So arriving leaving to UC Riverside, I was actually a Spanish major that included Latin American studies with a minor in ethnic studies. And what I learned in my Latin American studies kind of flipped my K-12 education on its head. And after reading Edward Galeano's Open Veins of Latin America and other books, I changed my major to an interdisciplinary degree, and I graduated with a degree in the ethnic study of women's history. And my stepdad said to me, "You're going to be a teacher, right?" I said, "Yes, of course." So then I took 3 years and substitute taught 12th grades, kindergarten, all the way from kindergarten to 12th grade, and worked a second job in the service industry. I went back and earned my bilingual teaching credential through the Title VII grant for bilingual teachers at UCR, got a master's degree in educational administration from UC Riverside, and finally in 2017 earned my doctorate in organizational leadership from the University of La Verne. And during the years, you know, through my teacher credential, my master's degree, I worked as an elementary school teacher, bilingual transitional before Prop 227, after Prop 227, a sheltered English immersion as an elementary school teacher, a BITSA coach, a middle school teacher, Avid Excel teacher, Title III coordinator at the site, and then coordinator and director for Westminster School District. And now I'm happily serving as your director of Plurilingual Services.
Wow, that's a mouthful. Amazing,
amazing
journey, Renae. And how would you characterize your personal drivers? And, you know, we talk about this, the importance of personal matching professional organizational drivers.
Right. Yes. So important. I'm definitely, as I mentioned before, an example of the power of public education to transform lives and trajectories. My drivers have always been to serve, and definitely where the need is the greatest. So my personal and my professional mission is to use that education that I have and the privilege that I have to make a positive difference in the lives of our scholars, our staff, our families, our community, by working diligently to create that equity and opportunity, access, and success for them.
So our district, as you know, is transforming public education by hopefully doing a much better job of aligning our drivers with the world beyond college, you know, this world of careers and this little thing called life and being able to navigate life. And I think it's resonating with all of our 90+ partners and our parents and certainly our students. And we've been able to develop a new framework for this called the Career Preparedness Systems Framework. I know we've spent some time in previous shows talking about that, so we don't so much have to go into it, but one of the most important pieces, as you know, is the development of student voice and purpose. How does that connect with your world of you know, advocating for plurilingualism?
Right. So when I really think about plurilingualism and the three big, what I call them, rocks of this department, I definitely see it in the three drivers of the Career Preparedness Systems Framework, the technical skills, the soft skills, youth voice, and purpose. And you can see the technical skills of plurilingualism is actually learning the language and advancing those language skills, such as learning technical industry-related vocabulary, so important. And the soft skills are found in that communication, collaboration, creativity, critical thinking, and compassion, those 5 C's that we use in learning a new language or advancing the language that you already have as a heritage language, as well as that emotional intelligence exercise when navigating in another language. And finally, the youth voice and purpose is evident in our AUHSD talks, our soapbox speeches, the capstone presentations conducted in heritage languages, like at Savannah. You know, when I've been there and sitting on those panels and listening to our Global Leadership and Language Academy students, our GLLA students, that are in Spanish dual language immersion, and they have done their capstone in Spanish, and they are answering questions about their journey in Spanish. So those are all examples of how we see plurilingualism specifically connected to the CPSF.
You know, as someone who oversees our world language programs, and you know, there's a lot of teachers, a lot of languages in our program. How do you frame the CPSF in ways that they get it, that they sort of make connections, you know, from a traditional teaching of languages to this, what you said, more applied mastery of different languages?
Right. That's really important, not only for our teachers, but really for our scholars, because sometimes, you know, you learn content in isolation and it's not as meaningful to you. So like our adult learners want to know that what they're learning is immediately applicable and there's reason for it. Our scholars are the same way. So being able to emphasize to our staff, our teachers, that the more meaning that our students can find and applicability for the language, the more they're going to connect with it and want to use it. So this idea of learning this technical vocabulary and using it and practicing it, knowing that being bilingual or plurilingual now is going to help you not only get a job and maybe advance over someone else, maybe help you advance over someone for scholarships, but also it's going to help you in that job make some more money. So we know in New York, people who are Latinx, there was a study of Latinx workers, and those who actually were plurilingual made on the average $15,000 more than those who were not. So we know there's also an economic value to being plurilingual. And that was evident in my own life, you know, in getting a scholarship. It helped that I was plurilingual, and getting accepted, you know, getting that accepted to RCC UCR, that Scholars Foundation pathway. It helped that I was bilingual, plurilingual, and also getting my first teaching job. I had a BCLAD, had a bilingual teaching credential, and that helped me. That was considered the Cadillac of credentials back at that time. So all of these things help to maybe put you one step over someone else. And we are in a global economy, so that means we are competing globally. And we know other countries emphasize plurilingualism, and we want our scholars to be just as competitive and successful.
Yeah, it just makes sense. I mean, definitely with our AIM program, Kaiser, for example, they really appreciate the fact that we are pushing out bilingual scholars, bilingual students to them as AIM interns. And we all hope that more of our success, because I know we lead Orange County in the seal of the state seal of bilingualism. So it's I just hope that it catches on better, because it's been a little frustrating in that higher ed doesn't pay as much attention to that as an asset as maybe our business partners. Do you think that higher ed will begin to take a more serious look at the students coming out with the state seal?
I do, and I already see evidence of that. So we know our partners at Cal State Fullerton, specifically Dr. Fernanda Rodriguez-Vaz, Dr. Natalie Tran, they're working really hard to make sure that the pathway that we've created that goes all the way from Anaheim Elementary to then AUHSD with our dual language immersion, that can continue on at Cal State Fullerton. So they are already developing courses where the content is in that target language, so that they are learning, you know, history and science and math, continuing it at that, 13 through 16 level in the target language. So definitely. And I know that they are also working on another recognition for that level to make sure we're recognizing scholars for their ability to comprehend, to communicate, to collaborate, to listen, speak, all those things, those 4 domains in that target language at that level. So it's one thing, we often hear parents that say, oh, we don't need dual language immersion after 6th grade. But in actuality, you wouldn't say that about English. Oh, my student doesn't need to stop reading English at 6th grade. You want to be able to comprehend and communicate at a professional level. And so having the universities continue that pathway and offering that content in those target languages, heritage languages, super important and imperative.
And to that point, you've pretty much single-handedly helped build the first secondary dual language immersion in Vietnamese, right? And really position the district nationally as a leader in Vietnamese language. Could you just share a little bit about that story?
Yes. So, coming from one of our sister elementary districts over in Westminster, definitely rolling out Vietnamese there, and then coming here, was really excited to be able to lead and be able to come to fruition your vision, the board's vision, to offer even more languages. So it was exciting to be able to offer Vietnamese world language in 2018. And then in having some conversations, we talked about what would it look like to offer heritage, and is that the smartest thing to do? And then with conversations with Dr. Natalie Tran, our partner, we decided, no, you know what, we should offer dual language, Vietnamese dual language immersion at the secondary level, and be the first actually in the nation and lead the way, like we do in so many other areas, lead the way in this one particular language and Vietnamese dual language immersion. So although other programs rolled out before us, we are actually the first to offer the secondary Vietnamese dual language immersion. And in order to offer dual language immersion, you have to have 2 classes at least in that target language. So we knew that the language course would be one, and then we had to kind of sit down and figure out what will be the second one. And we actually asked the community, what is it that you want? And we knew that it was around computer science, coding, cybersecurity. So we have aligned our pathway with that to make sure that our students are actually taking those courses, those content areas that integrate computer science, coding, and cybersecurity in Vietnamese. So it's super exciting that our students are able to do this. And this is really the world of work come to life for our students in dual language immersion. And we see this also in GLLA with our students taking Spanish, nursing classes, right? They're able to integrate that vocabulary. So it's very exciting to be the first to offer Vietnamese dual language immersion at the secondary level. We're already up to our 3rd year. Super excited, very successful program. We're excited any student can actually test into the program. So that's something that the public should know, is that we do allow students to test in, and we're happy for any students to come to us that are ready to enter the program. And our other dual language immersion programs, our Spanish dual language immersion programs, also integrating that career preparedness systems framework. We see it at Anaheim High School with Dual Language Academy. With the biotech, we have teachers teaching biology in Spanish. So excited to see our dual language immersion programs align with those CTE programs and creating greater success for our scholars.
There's so many exciting things going on in the department, Renae, and I know I'd be remiss if we did not talk a little bit about the Language Academy and the support for newcomers, because as we're all well aware, Anaheim is a gateway community for immigrants and refugees. Could you share a little bit about the development of our newcomer program?
Yeah, so I'm all about giving credit where credit is due. So this the Summer Language Academy started before I got to Anaheim Union High School District, and was actually one of the first things that I read about Anaheim Union. I was so impressed with the work that was being done by Cynthia Vasquez-Pettit and Diana Fujimoto, and you leading in the board, wanting this to happen. Anaheim Union was the first district to offer something like this, as we had back in 2015-16 an influx of refugees that spoke Arabic, and most districts did not know how to help them. And where I was, we were making sure that we had our designated ELD, our integrated ELD, Rosetta Stone, but we didn't have something like, a Saturday Language Academy or a Summer Language Academy that was specifically targeting helping these students, but in a way that honored everything they brought as assets and also made it rigorous and relevant for them. And so, yes, 100% kudos to Cynthia Vasquez-Pettit, to Anna Fujimoto leading this effort. And now this is our 6th year integrating Summer Language Academy, our 2nd year, no, I take that back, our 3rd year with Saturday Language Academy. We started out with a pilot before the pandemic, had a virtual Saturday Language Academy last year, and this is our 3rd year now with Saturday Language Academy. And it's just so special, right? So we have students speaking all different languages, coming together as newcomers with content written by our partners at Cal State University Fullerton that really honors, again, the assets that our students bring, their connection of honoring their identities and their families, but also connecting them to the community, and then helping them see what in the community can I affect. So what I'm really excited about this year is we've integrated the civic engagement to make sure that our learners who are plurilingual and newcomers can also check off things to make sure they're meeting that criteria for the seal of civic engagement. So not only are we helping them with their plurilingualism, we're helping them feel connected and that they can already in this new environment make a difference in their community. So yes, it's about every other Saturday is our Saturday Language Academy. It happens the same time as Saturday Academy. And then once a year, we have our Summer Language Academy where we bring students from all over the district to one site and have an intense 4 days a week for 1 month academy for them.
It's deep work, Renae, but I'm impressed with the kids themselves sharing the deep friendships that they're making. And you mentioned sort of the affirmation of identity and how important that is to a recent immigrant or refugee kid. And, I think all of us are so proud of, I think the young senior last year, he graduated from Savannah, Vietnamese young man Trung, who took first place in the MICVA soapbox speeches, talking about his own identity as a Vietnamese American, as an Asian American, in this rise of anti-Asian hate crime. So really powerful, powerful work that the district under your leadership, Renae, is doing. We're almost out of time, but yeah, you have so many hats for the district, but I do want to mention one other thing that you do, not only for the district, but for, I guess this is growing throughout the state of California, and that's the book clubs that you have. And you have a wide following and so many interesting topics. Could you just share in the few minutes we have left what the book club is all about?
Sure. Yeah. So in the pandemic, the Leadership Book Chat was born, and it started really around Dolores Lindsay, Dr. Lindsay, Dr. Arriaga, Dr. Stanley. They wrote this book called Leading Well Female. They had this private Facebook group with the same name, and I posted, oh, we should do a book study. And they said, let's do it. We'll be there. So that's how it was born. And from there, we went, we had partners like a National Resource Center for Asian Languages, AXA, CALSA, many partners, and the partners from CALSA said, well, let's do another book, right? So then we did another book. We went into The New Jim Crow. We went into Ready for Anything, Dr. Suzette Lovely's book, then went into How Women Rise, and then Beyond Conversations About Race. And now we're reading a book by two superintendents from Chicago called The Unfinished Leader. But yeah, it was really, I think it really met a need for people to be able to connect during the pandemic and during a time where I think people felt really isolated, and during a time of Me Too and all of the social unrest that's going on, to be able to read some books to help us build our capacity around some important issues. It's really been meaningful, I think, for a lot of people. So we've had, in the course of the whole thing, this year and a half, almost 2 years, probably about 2,000 people go in and out, and so it's interesting to see where it'll go as people, I think, are a little pandemic fatigued and virtual meeting fatigued, but still people show up, and they showed up on Monday. And so very, very exciting. And I'm super passionate about capacity building and super passionate about giving people free opportunities. So it is just a free opportunity for people to connect, to have professional learning, and to expand their professional learning network really across the nation. And we've seen people become friends, get promotions, connect. It's really great. Thank you for asking.
Yeah, I think that's awesome.
Being a part of it. You were actually the first male speaker that we had, our first, our superintendent speaking for us. So it meant so much to have you there and to leading our mindfulness and leading our important discussions around what we have going on here as related to the reading. So thank you for that.
Well, thank you, Renae, for amazing work that you've done for the district, but also, and for the kids, and for us adults, right? And you talk about connecting and how important that is. And I think that post-pandemic, we all need those connections. So thank you so much for this interview, and we look forward to hearing more from you in another one.
Thank you so much, Superintendent Matsuda. Thank you for your leadership. You are definitely a mentor and a sponsor for me and for all of the scholars, the 30,000 scholars that exist here in the families. I just want to thank you so much for your innovative and courageous leadership.